Governor Gavin Newsom, thank you for sipping tea, even though we don't have tea right now. Yeah, the tea with
Shows you how
April.
this economy is holding.
How about that?
Unbelievable.
How about that? Now, since you brought up the economy, California is one of the biggest economies in the nation and even in the world. And your budget has been questioned. And with the economy, gas prices, your state has some of the highest gas prices in the nation. Grocery prices are sky high. And people have also lost jobs. With that said, how do you reconcile the issue of your budget with homelessness, cutting some of the funding for homelessness, as well as affordable housing?
Well, the budget was balanced, not just this year, but next year. And we're making historic investments in housing, homelessness, and childcare, addressing the issues of affordability. $11 insulin, created a brand new grade TK for all, after school for all, summer school for all, community schools investments that are next level, best in class in the nation. We've also made substantial investments in cities and counties to support their efforts to address the issue of unsheltered homeless, which produced almost a double-digit decline for the first time in a decade and a half of people living on the streets and sidewalks. As it relates to the broader issues of the economy, we have no peers. We are the fourth largest economy in the world. We've grown at 40% GDP since I've been governor. No other state in America grew that fast, and no other developed nation during that period of time grew faster. We dominate in manufacturing and agriculture. We dominate in fusion and quantum and space. We dominate in AI. And so from a jobs perspective, we've created over 3.1 million jobs since 2019. And the state is doing remarkably well, running now a surplus. The issue of cost of gasoline goes back to the 1960s. Ronald Reagan created the California Air Resources Board, addressed the issue of smog in LA. They had to clean up the air by cleaning up the tailpipes. 3 years later, a guy named Richard Nixon, another Californian, president at the time, codified California's leadership on regulations through a waiver under the Clean Air Act. And it initiated an effort to change the blend and the fuel mix to address the pollution that has led historically to higher gas prices in the state of California. What's different, though, with this war is we actually have not seen the kind of rise in prices, $1.51 as of last week since the war began, but $1.55 nationwide. 33 states have seen actually higher increases in their gas costs since the war than even California.
So today, on my way to come see you in DC, I live outside of Baltimore, and that's like a 2-hour, give or take 2-hour ride back and forth. I went to get gas, and I want to see what you say. For premium, 93 octane, $4.85 a gallon.
Yeah, familiar. I mean, those are,
Those are post-choice war numbers, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's jaw-dropping. Again, and this was just a few days ago, the numbers change on a daily basis as you've reflected, just even your own example, the sticker price and the shock of that. But look, this is now flowing through our entire economy. We haven't fully absorbed the impacts. Obviously, at the pump is a direct impact, but the cost of diesel is off the charts. The cost of now delivering food to the grocery store for the truckers is going to be passed along through the cost of those groceries and the cost of those vegetables and fruits. And we're going to start to see this cascading effect because of what Donald Trump has recklessly done. Even if he ends it today, it's going to take months and months and months to unwind the damage he has already done. His recklessness, again, not just on the war, but his tariff policy, his trade policy, abandoning our alliances, the impact that's had, just even parochial issue of tourism from Canada, the impact that's having on mom and pops and small restaurants and people that are just struggling to make ends meet, all because of decisions that Donald Trump has made, but none more impactful than the cost that has been borne by the taxpayers associated with gasoline.
As we talk about Donald Trump, he has created attention in this nation. He's recreated attention. Things have kind of calmed. There's always been anger from one group to another, but not at this level. We've seen through studies, we've seen through many organizations that have talked about anti-Semitism, hate against Black people, hate against our Latino brothers and sisters, hate against our Asian brothers and sisters. And now we see this attack at a mosque in California.
Yeah, sick.
What do you say to this, sir?
No, I mean, Trump has made us feel free to shove again. And it's the job of a leader, is try to unite, bring people together. He doesn't see it as such. I mean, his job is to scapegoat teachers, to scapegoat the book you're reading or the drag show, and get us to fight one another as he's picking your pocket. Because at the end of the day, this is a corruption story, period, full stop.
Theft,
of course, at a grand scale, $1.8 billion that he negotiated with himself for this new slush fund.
But wait a minute, for who? Proud Boys, Oath Keepers,
fill in the blank, whoever he wants, whatever it's sort of protection racket. He's going to, I mean, the number of pardons he's done, the grift that's going on with Witkoff, the grift that's going on with Kushner, the grift that's going on in all the Gulf states, the grift that continues to go on as relates to his stock portfolio and his day trades. And when he's trading, when he's promoting, when he's showing up at an event at a particular factory and he's buying that stock beforehand because he knows it's going to spike, what he's doing with crypto, what he's doing with watches, what he's doing with cell phones, what he's doing with sneakers, what he's doing across the spectrum. It's sick. What he did with the tariffs, what he's done with trade and allies, where he's threatening the tariffs if he doesn't get his golf course done. Look what happened in Vietnam. He reduced the tariffs by 27% after he got the golf course deal. 8 others in the Gulf states, these big developments. I mean, Barron's worth $100 million now. I mean, this is just corruption and graft at a level we've never seen in our life. Meanwhile, you're paying $4.68, $4.80 a gallon of gas. People are paying more for all of their goods because of these illegal tariffs, not my words, the Supreme Court's own assessment and adjudication. And so the people of this country are afraid, and he's trying to get us to fight each other, back to your original point. And I don't know, I went to Santa Clara University, and I was reminded the Bible teaches us we're many parts, but one body. And when one part suffers, we all suffer.
Yeah.
And we're suffering. We're bound together, King said, by a web of mutuality. We're all in this together. And so we have to be repairers of the breach, in the spirit of Isaiah. We have to. And we have to be the better angel here. We've got to fight fire with fire, got to hold the line, got to call out the corruption, the graft, but we also have to speak to our common humanity.
So you're saying repairers of the breach. There are a lot of people who are either afraid to go out there because Donald Trump is a bully. He's a gangster. He's a straight up New York gangster. And then, you bring up the Bible and, a lot of people pray, but faith without works is dead. What do you say to people who are not activating?
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, I just talked to someone who was here at this conference who is an activist, and he says, Democrats are not activating like they should. And a lot of Americans are feeling that many of you are very highbrow. You've gone to these Ivy League colleges, but you don't know what a street fight looks like.
Well, I'm on the streets. I'm fighting. Prop 50 was fighting fire with fire. We ain't going around. I'm smash mouth. See my social media. I'm in Trump's face every day. In the spirit of my buddy Marshawn Lynch, I have a podcast with him over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
But you've gotten in trouble for some of those cartoons.
You know what? I'm gonna. I like my percentages. I've only had to delete 3.
Okay.
I admit. Okay. But you know what? Bottom line, you got to punch a bully in the face.
Hit a bully one good time and he'll leave you alone.
I'm not accepting any of this damn stuff. I've put a stake in the ground, so I'm with you. It's as you say, it's faith and works. As we pray, we move our feet. So it's action and passion, and it's style and substance. It's as relates to what we're doing on social media, putting up a mirror to Trump and Trumpism, put up a mirror to the supine Congress and the corruption racket that is indulged by members of not only his administration, but members of Congress. And we're calling it out 24/7. And we're organizing a counter strategy with Prop 50. I'm out there fighting the good fight in the South. I'm calling out Landry and the stone cold racism, the Jim Crow 2.0 that has given permission by the Supreme Court, and what's going on in the South and Louisiana and what's going on in other states. And we've got to have a state of mind that is much more aggressive, less permissive, and show people the way so that we're not standing in their way.
So what's the end result after Prop 50 for California and you doing this? I mean, this is cyclical. This is not the second time. It's actually the third time. the Civil War, all of this, they're taking all of this back to the Civil War. They're trying to Alabama wants to take back the 14th Amendment, etc.
Yeah.
And they're trying to chip away at the Civil Rights Act, the first pillar of the Civil Rights Movement, and then the second pillar was VRA. What is the end game that you see, particularly for Black people in those southern states?
Anti-woke is anti-Black. They want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. I mean, you had Ron DeSantis in the anti-woke bill in Florida. You remember this just a couple of years ago, where the social studies books took out the race of Rosa Parks because there was too insensitive because it talked about race. Because we called that out and there was a call to arms around that, the social studies book, by the way, I said we won't do business with them in California as one of many examples and tools that we're able to leverage. They backed off. People stood up. And so I think that's the mindset. It's unbelievable what is happening here to women, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, what's happened to civil rights, and what's now happening to voting rights. And it's happening. They're trying to literally erase our history and our progress in the last half century. And so again, all of us have a responsibility to meet this moment, to get out there, to organize, not just sit back and lament, and take a swing. Get up there, not physically, but get out there and make a case anew by being participatory and not giving into the cynicism and into the fear and anxiety.
So I hear you. What you're saying is very strong. But at the end of the day, you have independents who kind of lean to Donald Trump and that racist, bigoted, misogynistic mindset.
Yeah. They need to be called out. I mean, it's just stone cold racism. Why do we dance around this? It's just the anti-woke, anti-DEI movement is racist, period, full stop. We're not clear about that. We're playing in the margins on this stuff. We're allowing what happened at the Pentagon, all of these people that are being fired, what do they have in common? Color of their damn skin and women.
And in the media, the people,
And so it needs to be called out. And we need to call out the people that are not calling out. That's why I was joking inside of giving some remarks in there that I have a site where I'm selling knee pads to everyone that's selling out to Donald Trump. Trump's signature series knee pads, to law firms that are selling out, to universities that are selling out, to damn media that's selling out. Not just members of Congress, but media that's selling out. And the people that are part of the grift and the people that are part of this corruption story. They all need to be held to a higher level of accountability. But the racism makes me sick, my soul. I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime. All that progress, I took it for granted. I really did. I never thought they can erase half a century.
You and I are the same age. You were born...
Loving versus Virginia. We were born in 67.
Yes, 1967.
Yes, until Richard Loving had the courage to say, I do, to Mildred Jeter.
Yes, yes. And they faced a lot of stuff. But I was born 9 months before Dr. King was killed. And in 2026, you're saying this now. And you have a few months left before the end of your gubernatorial term. Now, you want to say this when you run for president?
No, I want to say it when I just, I run up the stairs to pick my kids up and get them out of bed and get them to school. I want to say it and look, I got 6-7 more months left, and I'm going to run. I am running the 90-yard dash. I'm running the 110-yard dash, and I'm going. And where it takes me next, I care about the life of my city, my state, nation, the world we're trying to build. I'm the spirit of this. I like the 60s. In the spirit you decide. I like the vernacular of the 60s, solving for ignorance and poverty and disease. I'm a Sarge Shriver Democrat when he was picked, and we actually saw a reduction in poverty in this country. The Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the vernacular, what King represented, sense of idealism and hard-headed pragmatism.
Yes.
Again, as we pray, move our feet, action and passion. Conditions don't matter as much as the actions. It's our decisions that will determine our fate and future.
So what are you going to do to ensure that the Voting Rights Act is brought back even stronger? Yeah. There's some kind of cement to it, because when I was in school, I don't know if you had the same teachers or the same books, but I thought a law was a law and that was it.
That was on how many occasions bipartisan, overwhelmingly reinforced and codified by Congress under Republican administrations. Congressional law. signed by the
The
President of the United
last
States.
time was George W. Bush,
Yes.
who reauthorized the Voting Rights
Thank
Act.
you.
And this is a whole different. These aren't Republicans. These are Trumplicans.
Well, they're Koch brother backed, fossil fuel oligarch backed. Forget the language I'm using, but I believe it. Back parts of the long-term agenda, and they were vetted. Trump didn't even know what the hell he was doing in some of the cases, and he's always lamented out loud. He just took the advice of certain people. Now, increasingly in Trump's image, but they were in the image of this larger agenda that led us to Project 2025. And we've been asleep at the damn wheel for too long. Look, we're at CAP. They're one of the counter strategies. Democracy Alliance, Media Matters, was how we came out of the depths of 2004 after we got shellacked. And then a few years later, we had Speaker Pelosi. And then a few years after that, we had somebody like Obama. And we did better with 53% of the popular vote than we had since 1964. So we can build this back, but it's got to be that same mindset that we had after 04. It's got to be that same mindset that led us to 1964 and 1965. It's a 1930s moment. It's an 1860s moment again. I mean, I think we're at that point. The grand bargain is not working for people anymore. It's got to be reimagined. Democrats can't play in the margins anymore. It's not about marginally increasing the earned income tax credit, marginally subsidizing the cost of childcare, marginally increasing the minimum wage. The tectonic plate of AI is blowing this up. It's exposing the roots. White collar workers and blue collar workers are joining this working person's alliance. It's very different than we've seen in the past. And it requires something fundamentally different in our tax code, fundamentally different as it relates to concentration of wealth and monopoly of corporate interest. It requires new strategies, not just new thinking and new action.
Is Congress too old? Because when you say new strategies, a lot of the people there are still into that old mindset of how it used to work and want to go back to where it was, and everything is forever changed.
Yeah, look, I'm the beneficiary and the burden of term limits. I think it's a very healthy thing. And in the past, I was, a little skeptical about term limits. Enough. These guys spending enough. Same with the Supreme Damn Court. Enough. I don't know what's the appropriate prism of that is, 12 years, 18 years. Is it, 4 years? That's a conversation, but it's time down the conversation. I also think that it's in the spirit of the 60s, the spirit of Bobby Kennedy in this case. It's also about a state of mind and a quality of imagination, not just a time of life.
Yeah, you've got Bernie Sanders versus some of the older ones that are kind of falling asleep and having a hard time staying awake.
Bernie's energy, his vibrancy, his clarity, calling out the villains, being able to communicate effective way that creates energy and spirit and pride. I wouldn't want to throw him and cast him aside just because of his time of life. He's got that state of mind. So,
Bernie Sanders versus a Mitch McConnell.
I get it. I just think all of us age very differently. But I want fresh ideas.
Right.
I want fresh language. I want to reinvigorate as we reinvigorated in the 30s and created Social Security, as we reinvigorated in the 60s and created Medicare, created the civil rights, the movement that led us to the Voting Rights Act, and other great results that have held this country together, but no longer adequate to the challenges that we confront going forward.
And my last question to you, I'm so honored to sit here with you and talk to you. And I thank you for allowing me to run up on you at the White House Correspondents Association. I know you were like, hey, I know.
With the camera.
I know I did. And I thank you. I thank you for allowing me to sit here. This has been a very good conversation. And I think I'd like for people to see the realness and the thought. And I'm going to hold you to it because when you run for president.
I never said I would.
Okay. I know you never said. Kamala says she might. Will you?
She might. But she does.
What about you? Will you?
I don't know, but if she
50,
does,
50, 70-30?
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
fate determines so much. It's fate. Do you meet a moment? Do you have a big enough why to endure the how of the next 2 years and what it means? Do you represent something that's needed? Are you anticipating where the puck's going? And can you honestly put yourself up on a stage with 35 extraordinary people and go, you know what? I had some value here that distinguishes my candidacy, my voice, and your choice a little bit different. If you can't answer those questions, not a chance.
It takes an extreme person to be president. But you have been congratulated for your progressive effort Former UN Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield said she congratulated you on California being the first state to join the World Health Organization's Global Outbreak Alert and Response Network. And that's a big deal right now because a lot of people don't know where to go and who to trust.
Yeah, we created this West Coast Alliance with the states from even as far as Hawaii to Oregon and Washington, the state of California. I don't want to say we're creating our own CDC, but we do have our own advisory committee. We believe in science. We believe in public health. We believe that we are in peril if we continue down the path that Bobby Kennedy Jr. is taking, the FDA and others, and the CDC. And so I'm trying to do my best to be accountable under those circumstances to build the scaffolding so that we can maintain trust and transparency until we can ultimately address it at the federal level.
Yeah, and right now, because a lot of people don't trust the CDC, there's something called the Vaccine Integrity Project. A certain great doctor who has been vilified told us about. I can't say his name or her name, but they said if you can't go to the CDC and you don't feel comfortable, go to the Vaccine Integrity Project. And you're commended for what you're doing. Thank you for caring. Thank you for doing this interview. Thank you for sipping tea, even though the economy's bad.
$5.60 for tea. What the hell is that?
$5.60 a gallon for tea.
I remember when it was $1. Yes.
Thank you, California Governor Gavin Newsom.
Great
Thank you
to
so
be
much. It was wonderful. Thank you.